This episode of the Downtown Rams podcast is brought to you by our proud sponsors, Thrive Fantasy, Built Bar, and ExpressVPN. Now, using promo code DTSN, our listeners can get $20 bonus cash on a deposit of at least $20 on Thrive Fantasy, 10% off their Built Bar protein bar order, and 35% off their ExpressVPN annual subscription. Once again, all you have to do is use the promo code DTSN and tell them the Downtown Rams podcast sent you. Now enjoy the show.
Aaron Donald creates the fumble. Goff goes crashing into the end zone.
It is intercepted by Jalen Ramsey.
Robert Wood, touchdown. Picked off by John Johnson. Touchdown, Tyler Higbee. Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air.
Henderson with a good run and a first down. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Van Jefferson. Everett in stride. Wow!
LA will play for the Lombardi.
All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm your host, Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co-host, Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you with our first podcast of the offseason. The last time that we spoke, we talked about the Rams' loss to the Green Bay Packers in the divisional round of the playoffs. Which seems like forever ago, but in all honesty, I think it was just a week and a half ago. So this is very unusual to be starting off our off-season podcast already. But there's been a lot that's happened for the Rams. If you're a Rams fan, there's a lot to cover. And Jake, I think we would be remiss if we didn't start with our new quarterback. The Rams traded 2 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and Jared Goff to the Detroit Lions, and received Matthew Stafford from them. So we have a new quarterback. And Jake, I will let you start with your thoughts on that trade. And I know that a lot of people are excited to hear our thoughts on this because this is obviously very big news.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Matthew Stafford, always really have been. And, first and foremost, I have to say that this is somebody that really has been waiting, has really tried to bring a title to Detroit, and it's hard for somebody to leave there. But when you see Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson retire on the top of their game, they were unable to bring a title there. Stafford tried, he held out. I think Matt Patricia and his coaching staff, which was abysmal, really put him over the edge, and thus you're seeing it now. He asked for a trade. I won't say forced. They mutually agreed on it. Brad Holmes was a big reason why Jared Goff, number 16, ended up a Ram to begin with. He was the guy pounding the table for the Rams to trade up and get him. And ultimately, Matthew Stafford wanted a reset, and he wanted to go to a team that, he wanted to go to a warm weather spot. He wanted to go to a team that was going to utilize his strengths to the best of his ability, but also have a team that, has a defense, because he's only had one top 10 defense his entire career in the NFL. That same team went 11-5, gave him his best opportunity to win a playoff game. And then he's only had 10 occurrences in his over 160 games he's played where his running back has gone over 100 yards. So he's probably enjoying the fact that he's going to have Cam Akers, who is a rising star, and Darrell Henderson in that backfield, as well as a defense that is clearly going to be in the top 10 if they, have anything, like last year to say about it.
Yeah. And I think for me, I'm just going to give my initial thoughts on this. And I say initial because I know that this happened now, 2-3 days ago, but it's going to take a while to set in with people. I mean, Jared Goff has been our quarterback for the past 5 seasons. So it is a very weird and very different feeling, but not entirely a bad feeling to know that Jared Goff is no longer our quarterback. But here are my initial thoughts on this trade for Matt Stafford. I like Matt Stafford. I want to preface this by saying I think he is much better than Jared Goff. I don't have a problem with him. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback. And I know that I've seen a lot of people who think that he is. I believe that you've said that he is. I don't think he is. I think if he's a top 10 quarterback, he's maybe number 10. However, I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback. And I do think that we gave up too much for him. I know that sounds like a complaint. I'm not saying it so much as a complaint other than more of a concern. And here's why. We don't have a first round pick now until 2024. And I know people are like, oh, that doesn't matter. First round picks don't matter. I know they don't, obviously, to the Rams because we keep giving them away for players and things like that. That's fine. But here's the thing to me, that the only thing that makes this trade worth it is if Matt Stafford goes out there next season and plays like a top 5 quarterback. So the argument is, do you think he will do that? I don't know. We're not going to know until the season starts, really. My prediction is probably not. I don't think that he's going to perform like a top 5 quarterback next season, but it's not that he has to. I mean, it's about winning games. He doesn't have to be an elite quarterback next season for the Rams to win and go far in the playoffs. But the thing is, to me personally, if I'm giving up that many picks for somebody, I want a top 5 quarterback. I want an elite quarterback. I want a Deshaun Watson. To me, Matt Stafford isn't that. And I also want to acknowledge that Matt Stafford we have his new contract. He's only under contract one more season. So for all we know, Matt Stafford could go in the system, things could not go great, and he could leave and get out, and then we've given up all these picks. So I'm not a fan of how much we gave up for him. The only way to me that this trade is worth it as far as what we gave up is if we go to the Super Bowl. Other than that, I just don't see the value in him in that way. I find it very hard to believe that we couldn't have gotten Deshaun Watson for that price. And especially when you see what's come out about what other teams were offering for Matt Stafford, we basically doubled and tripled other offers. So it is a little concerning to me how much we gave up. At this point, though, I think that what we should focus on is he is better than Jared Goff. And me and a lot of other people feel like part of the thing that was holding back the Rams was Jared Goff last season. So we've now corrected that issue. Hopefully, if Matt Stafford can go out there and play well and hopefully play a lot better than he ever has been and be elite, then it's worth it to me. So we'll see. I mean, with every trade in the NFL, you never really know until you're midway through the next season. You know, you could talk all you want about it, but you got to wait until he plays.
Yeah, and to me, I think that at the end of the day, Matthew Stafford, I'm going to put it in terms that you would absolutely know where I'm going with this as soon as I say it, okay? Matthew Stafford is April Ludgate in Parks and Rec, and Jared Goff is John Ralphio. Like, that type of character difference.
Okay.
Matthew Stafford literally does it all. He does it all. He doesn't have a hole in his game, and Jared Goff has multiple holes in his game. It's why Sean McVay said straight up that he didn't care if he won the trade. He just wanted to win the Super Bowl. And that's what it's all about. It's about winning Super Bowls. And to be honest with you, 32 nowadays, and he'll be 33 soon, is not old. He could play for the next 7 years, and he's absolutely played enough for me to be okay with it. Say 5, and he's played enough for me to be okay with it. At the end of the day, I think it's how much do you value a Super Bowl? To me, this team should have 2 right now. So I can't help but think, obviously I think Sean McVay does deserve some blame because in the Super Bowl, I do think he struggled play calling. I think he also got beat. So I'm not trying to give him a pass, but I also want to give credit to him because he's turned this team from a 4-12 team into a team that's gone 11-5, 13-3, 10-6, 9-7. Like, they're constantly winning. So with Jared Goff, people use like the win percentage, all of that. I would say that, obviously if you put Stafford in that position, I think they're a better team every single year. This is just somebody who's a quick mental processor. He's got a quick trigger. He has multiple arm angles. He's been doing all the things that everyone, and I said this on my live stream, he's been doing all the things that people give Patrick Mahomes like this exclusive credit for. He's been doing it for a lot longer. And Aaron Rodgers actually went on Pat McAfee and basically said the same thing that I'm saying. Matthew Stafford is one of the more underrated quarterbacks in football. He literally can do it all. He can work off script. He's not a sprinter, but he can run. He's going to take off and get you a first down if he needs to, but he's always got his eyes downfield. He's always trying to make a play, and he is clutch. I mean, this is a guy that's had over 30 come from behind wins. And they only had to come from behind because he's been with the Lions. Now you go to the Rams. This is a 36-0 team with Sean McVay as the head coach when leading at halftime. So you have that 36-0 record, and there's a reason for it. They go up with leads, and what they do is they basically control the clock. I think the only thing is you're probably going to see time of possession even like worse this year than last year because the Rams are going to be scoring a lot quicker than last year. Yes, they were top 5 in explosive plays. Anything above, I believe, 20 yards is considered an explosive play. But it wasn't deep down the field. They were the screen passes, the quick slants that guys like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods made and turned into explosive plays. But at the end of the day, Stafford can throw every single a pass on the field. And he's got the 3rd best arm in the league, I would say, maybe the 4th behind, I would say, Rodgers, Allen, and Mahomes. I mean, you're getting a guy who's top 5 as a passer as far as, arm talent and arm velocity. But he just does all these crazy things where he can change his arm angle and do all of that. And at the end of the day, I think this is somebody that is a lot better than people realize. Skip Bayless referred to him as a sleeping giant, and I'm not a big Skip Bayless fan, but I think that's the best way to put him. This is somebody that you could see. You saw what Ryan Tannehill has done going from Miami to Tennessee. He's turned himself into a respectable, arguable top 10 quarterback. Stafford's going to go from where I have him at 7. I think he's going to win the MVP this season. I think he has a ton of talent around him. I think he has a ton of talent on him. He has a top 10 offensive line coming into the season. PFF ranked him 3rd. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, Bryson Hopkins, and the Rams are looking at another deep threat. So that could be either, a Marvin Jones, who he threw for 5 years to. It could be a Marvin Hall, somebody that he has experience with. It could be a John Ross. I know you mentioned on Twitter, I think you said Will Fuller. So there are guys out there that if the Rams really want to take this seriously, because I think this team can absolutely dominate next season and be the number 1 offense. I don't think that there's going to be an issue if they add a 4th receiver. I don't think it'll hurt Van Jefferson's development because I honestly think they are going to want to go 4 deep. And I think they're going to get somebody either in free agency or the draft. I would prefer free agency, for Stafford to go deep down the field and really test defenses. And I'm excited for that chance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic. Like I said earlier, I don't think I'm on the same page as a lot of people as far as where he ranks among quarterbacks, but I do think that the pressure is on him and McVay. I mean, they have the opportunity. McVay has the quarterback he wants. He got the type of quarterback that he's been wanting that he didn't have in Jared Goff, which is why he was so I think adamant about getting rid of Jared Goff. If we want to get into that, I mean, a lot of people say that they think that this trade was less about Matt Stafford and more about getting rid of Goff's contract, which I tend to agree with just because of the way that everything went down. I think regardless, the Rams were looking to trade Jared Goff anyway, had it not been for that contract, just because of the way that he's been playing. But I do think that a lot of this seemed to be the Rams really wanting to get out of that. I think they realized pretty quick after they gave Jared Goff that contract that he was not what they were looking for. And, I do think that McVay and arguably Les Snead just were looking to dump that off. And I think that maybe that's why they were willing to give up so much for Matt Stafford, was because it meant getting rid of Jared Goff. But I do want to touch on Jared Goff a little bit because I think with respect to him, he's been our quarterback for 5 years. He is going to a new team. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm rooting for him. I really am. Obviously not when the Lions play the Rams, but I told Jake this. I really could see Jared Goff turning it around and lighting it up with Detroit. I really can see that. I think Anthony Lynn, who is now, I believe, the offensive coordinator for Detroit, I think that the system that they run there and are going to run there is going to be better fit to Jared Goff's strengths than McVay's system was. And, I think that there is something a lot of times with quarterbacks when they get traded like this or they get benched or something like that is you want to prove people wrong. And when you want to prove people wrong, you tend to play better. So Jared Goff certainly has that opportunity. And I think, the Lions obviously have draft capital. And I think that they're going to be able to build a good team up in Detroit. So I am cheering for Jared Goff to do well. I have no hard feelings towards him. He just wasn't working out for our team and the system that McVay runs. But Jake, I don't know if you have any thoughts on how Jared Goff's going to play in Detroit, or if there's anything, any other thoughts that you have about him going there.
Yeah, I look at Jared Goff, and I think right now this is a good position for him to be in. Look, the Lions aren't going to be a high-octane passing attack, and to be honest with you, Jared Goff, I don't think is that quarterback anymore. I think there's a reason he's lost his confidence to go deep down the field. He doesn't have the arm Stafford has, and quite frankly, Dan Campbell, who I think is doing a great job assembling this coaching staff. You mentioned Anthony Lynn. I think ultimately this is going to be a team that wants to run the football and, hold, the amount of or the number of throws that Jared Goff makes in a game, keep that to a minimum. And I think that'll put him in position to succeed. I think when Jared Goff struggles is when he's at least now, we're not talking about 2017 18. We're talking about now. From what I've seen on film, is when Jared Goff struggles, it's the moments he has to make multiple reads, he has to go deep down the field. He's throwing 50 times a game. You and I have talked about it. Sean McVay does struggle to balance the run and pass. I do think that is a good thing with Matthew Stafford. Is I don't think that's going to be much of an issue. With Jared Goff, it was literally an issue because I felt as though the Rams were winning in spite of him. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback because I do think he's top 20. But with that being said, the Lions, they don't really have anybody. All the guys are free agents. You look at Kenny Golladay, free agent, Marvin Jones, free agent. So he's going to have Hawkinson, and that's about it. So, I mean, I would propose if they're going to stick with Jared Goff and not go after a guy like, say, Trey Lance in the draft, then I would propose that they, try and use some of the Rams assets that they acquired, and they trade up and get either Devontae Smith or, a Jamar Chase, and really have a guy that, can kind of do it all for that team. But if not, they're probably going to sign a bunch of guys, in free agency that are, Josh Reynolds tier guys. And to me, you're going to want to run the football, and they have DeAndre Swift. So I think they can do it. I think you just got to keep it calm with Jared Goff. Don't force him to do too much. And I think the way the Lions are building out this team and the fact that, of course, somebody like Brad Holmes, this is the guy he wanted. The fact he wanted him this much really tells me that he is going to be the quarterback of the future. I know some people have wondered if, they could package him for Deshaun Watson. I don't see it. I think he's going to be the guy. And I hope he does well. I really do. I don't think he's going to be bad. I don't think he's going to be great. But I think he's going to be kind of like Sam Bradford was with, Philly. Like, I don't think he's going to be all that bad. But I mean, I don't think Jared Goff's magically going to go to 2018, 2017. I do think that's done. He has lost that confidence to throw deep down the field. I feel like he was broken in the Super Bowl. And, I just don't think he's going to go back to that. So short and intermediate passer, has an offensive coordinator that wants to run the football. He has a head coach that wants to run the football. It's an old school mentality. I don't know if that's the right way to build in today's league, but nevertheless, it could help Jared Goff moving forward.
Yeah, like I said, obviously we wish him nothing but the best, no hard feelings. And I do think he's actually going to do really well. I think I'm not going to be surprised at all if he lights it up in Detroit. But now that we've kind of covered our new quarterback, I think it's time to talk a little bit about our coaching situation, because the next big story for Rams fans is we have lost a lot of coaches in this offseason. When a team does well, like the Rams have done, and has a really good coaching staff that contributes to that, which the Rams had, other teams are obviously very interested, and other teams are going to take every opportunity that they can to try and steal coaches away from us. The NFL's a business, so I'm not one to really complain or anything about that. I get it. It's a business. You want to win. One of the most important steps in winning is having an all-star coaching staff, and that's just the nature of it. But Jake, what does this mean now for the Rams? If you, because you're more in touch with the guys that we lost than I am, because obviously the big name that comes to my mind is Aubrey Pleasant, which is who was my pick, and I think most people's pick to replace Brandon Staley, which is another guy that we lost. We lost our defensive coordinator to the Chargers. He's now the other head coach in LA. So, Jake, what are your thoughts on the coaching staff shakeup for the Rams? And is there anybody that you think they should be looking to replace those guys?
Yeah, so there's a lot here. I mean, first off, we'll talk about Brandon Staley. They did replace him with Raheem Morris, likely going to run the similar type of defense as they confirmed. But he has, a little nuance to add from, his experience running the Tampa 2 and running the cover 3 defense that Dan Quinn made famous with the Seattle Seahawks. So, that's something that, I think the Rams will be a little bit more creative on defense. With that being said, I don't necessarily think that they are guaranteed to be the number 1 defense again. I do think Staley was legit. I don't think it's a plug and play type of thing. And at the end of the day, I think, Aaron Donald does help this defense so much that I do think they automatically can be top 15 if they have a decent secondary in Aaron Donald. So I think they'll be a top 10 defense. Now, looking at the OC, Kevin O'Connell, that was blocked. So he is not going to join the Chargers. I like that Sean McVay did that. I'm honestly kind of tired of seeing all of his guys get plucked year in and year out and just doesn't really stop. Then they lose passing game coordinator Shane Waldron. He goes to the Seattle Seahawks, which I find really annoying because, I mean, look, it's entirely, I don't even think they necessarily love Shane Waldron. It's entirely to get that Sean McVay offense in Seattle. And I can't really blame, somebody like Russell Wilson who advocated for it. I'm sure he saw on the sidelines, he saw Jared Goff running that offense and said, wow, Sean McVay really makes it easy on quarterbacks. I'd love to be in that type of offense. And they went out and got him. Shout out to Andy Dickerson, who's been an assistant offensive line coach for a minute now. He is going to move over as the run game coordinator. So it's a pretty big step up for him. It's unfortunate it goes to Seattle, but that's it's a pretty big move up. Shane Waldron will be the OC. Aubrey Pleasant, look, I'm upset. I love the guy. I've been talking about him for 2 to 3 years. I mean, we haven't known each other for 3 years, but I've been talking about him for a while. And, he being the cornerbacks coach, he's done a lot for Troy Hill. He's done a lot for Darius Williams, and it's a bummer to see him go. He's going to be the secondary coach in Detroit. So the Rams couldn't block that move because it was considered a promotion. In that regard, though, it's a little unfortunate because the Rams simply just don't have that position. They break it up into corner and safety coach, whereas the Lions just wanted a secondary coach. Here's the thing on that. I understand Aubrey Pleasant leaving because I do think that Sean McVay could have promoted him as defensive coordinator this year and decided to promote Raheem Morris. And I'm not saying he's wrong for it, but I do think that Aubrey probably should have gotten it last year when Brandon Staley did. And I think this year, it was either he didn't care and it turns out he did, or at the end of the day, they made a mistake. And I don't know if they did. But what I will say is Aubrey Pleasant being with the Lions as a cornerback coach, he's going to want to be a defensive coordinator next year. Won't be surprised if he ends up back with the Rams as the defense coordinator next year, because I do think Raheem Morris is going to take a head coaching job after the season. Who else had it? Let's see. Joe Barry, linebacker coach, assistant head coach. He goes over as the defensive coordinator in the run game defensive coordinator. Kind of weird over there with the Chargers and Brandon Staley. Now, Ejiro Evero is the safeties coach, and he is interviewing for the Packers defensive coordinator job. So as you can see, the Rams are getting plucked left and right. They lose their second-hand man in the front office in Brad Holmes. He was the guy right below Les Snead, where if Les Snead left, he would have been the GM. He had been with the Rams since 2003, and now he's with the Lions, and he makes this first big move to go out and get his guy in Jared Goff. He also brought over Ray Agnew, who, Agnew is somebody that's been well respected among the organization, the front office. And then Ray Farmer stayed. Farmer was interviewing to be the GM for the Jaguars. And so instead, he stays, and he's actually going to be promoted to, it looks like he might be promoted where Brad Holmes was. So a lot of moving parts. Who could replace these guys? I mean, right now, the cornerbacks coach, it could be up for grabs. I mean, right now, the cornerbacks coach and the safeties coach, for that matter, because Ejiro Evero is out if he takes the job with Matt LaFleur and takes over the defensive coordinator role with the Packers, it's kind of hard to tell. As far as linebackers coach, I'd have to imagine maybe Chris Shula slides in there. Maybe he takes on both, outside linebacker and inside linebacker. I don't really know, though. It will be interesting. As far as the passing game coordinator, that is going to be really interesting to me. Because, you look at, obviously, Kevin O'Connell's still the OC. He doesn't call plays, but clearly it's a big deal. Aaron Cromer's still there at the run game coordinator spot. I think maybe you have somebody like Zach Robinson, who was an assistant wide receivers coach. He was assistant quarterback coach a year prior. They got him from PFF. He's one of the young up-and-coming minds in the game, and, Zach Robinson could slide in there as a passing game coordinator. Another guy, Eric Yarber, they got him from UCLA, wide receivers coach. He's done a stellar job with guys like Woods and Kupp and Reynolds and, Van Jefferson, so maybe he could be in line for that. But aside from that, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at on that. Assistant head coach, I mean, it could be Eric Henderson, maybe the defensive lines coach that came over from the Chargers, a year prior. So there's a lot of moving parts. And, at the end of the day, I trust Sean McVay to fill out this coaching staff. I'm not too worried about that. Oh, maybe Thomas Brown as well, who's the running backs coach. Maybe he gets an assistant head coach position, or he gets the passing game coordinator. But those are some names in-house. As far as outside, I don't really know, because I don't know who Sean McVay is going to be targeting. So it's something, we have to look more into, but that's what I would say so far.
Yeah, I haven't looked too much into it either, which is why I was curious to hear your thoughts, because I definitely when it's outside of a head coach or a coordinator position, I'm really not as in touch as I probably should be. And I do think that Sean McVay, especially now that he has the type of quarterback he wants, I do think he's going to be very particular in the type of staff he wants to create. So that'll be something to watch out for. And there's obviously a lot of time, because I know there's only 2 teams still playing, but especially once the Super Bowl is over, that's when things like this really amp up. Something I do want to touch on, because I haven't really talked to you about this, so I'll bring it up now, is that report that the Rams went after Rodgers, which is confirmed. And obviously the Packers are like, we're not trading Aaron Rodgers. Why? That would be a terrible decision on their part, obviously. But in my mind, I'm like, I swear to God, if the Packers go and trade Aaron Rodgers to somebody else now that we've traded for Stafford, I'll be irate. Because that's the type of guy that I would be comfortable giving up all that we gave up for. He's Aaron Rodgers. Now, I don't think that they're going to do that. I think that I believe them when they say they are not trading him whatsoever. I do believe that. But is there a situation that you see that maybe down the line the Packers change their mind?
Yeah. I mean, right now we just thought some interesting news came out that, not just now, but pretty recently, the 49ers are going to stick with Garoppolo, and I thought he was going to go to the Patriots. So who's to say Bill Belichick doesn't go throw caution to the wind and try to get Rodgers?
Yeah, I mean, I did say at the beginning of this season that Aaron Rodgers was going to end up a Patriot. So I don't know if you remember that, but I do want to throw that out there. I do see, if he was leaving Green Bay willingly, I do see that being something that could happen. But it does sound like Green Bay is going to keep him around. I actually thought that the 49ers were going to stick with Jimmy G, so this isn't surprising to me either. I felt that the only place that Jimmy G would go would be the Patriots. I wouldn't have been surprised if Belichick wanted him back, because they're in need of a quarterback, but I do think that they're going to trade up for a quarterback, and I know that that's not what this podcast is about, but I do think that the Patriots are going to target Zach Wilson. So I just want to throw that out there. But as in regards to Rams news, I think we've pretty much covered it. I think the overall consensus right now is it's still early in the offseason. Obviously, the Super Bowl hasn't been played yet. It's January. The Rams have already addressed the quarterback spot. Matthew Stafford is now our quarterback, and Jared Goff is not. So it takes some time to get used to that. And
I'm used to it.
And I think that the draft is going to be really interesting, because now I'm hoping that the Rams kind of do what I originally wanted them to do in the draft. Is I really, really want us to, we're going to do a whole pod on this, so I won't get into it, but I really want us to focus on filling in the pieces on defense that I think we're missing. And we now have some more cap room to go after some free agents, which is exciting. And we'll get into that. But like you said, there might be a deep threat coming our way. I know that's something that us fans want, and we think McVay wants as well. So we'll see. I mean, we still have next week after the Super Bowl is when we'll really start talking about the draft in the offseason and all that. But we basically we got the big thing out of the way. We got a new quarterback, and that is Matthew Stafford. So that is obviously the big news if you're a Rams fan, and you should be excited about that.
Now, Alexis, would you prefer going after a big name free agent, say you could, or like a trade target? So say you could get like JJ Watt, or like you could get Kenny Galladay, or maybe even like Chris Godwin, or would you prefer just re-signing John Johnson or Leonard Floyd? Like, how would you, if you had a lot of cap to work with, how would you pull that off?
Well, I would like to re-sign Leonard Floyd and John Johnson. I think you always see the best teams. There's a lot of continuity there, and I think obviously bringing back the same guys is consistent, and I think that always helps. So if we could bring back Leonard Floyd and John Johnson, that would be my first choice. I would like to at least bring back John Johnson. I think he's very underrated, and I would be totally fine trading for JJ Watt. If we did that, I do think we should change our scheme to have him kind of fit in there, up front. I would like to see kind of like what we had back in, 2015, where we had the four up front. Remember, we had Chris Long, Brockers, Donald, and Quinn. I'd like to see something more like that if we did bring in JJ Watt, and I think he's on the move. I know, I'm not, I haven't looked super far into it, but he's very frustrated, and the Texans, I think the Texans are blowing their team up. I think they're going to rebuild, and I think they'll dish out Watson, and I think
what a disgrace. Oh, what a disgrace. That's all I can say.
Watson is like I said earlier, that's for me, I would have given up as much as we gave up for Matt Stafford for Watson, because I think Watson's he's elite. I can't believe that they're getting rid of him, but at the same time, I can. If he's made it pretty vocal that he doesn't want to be there and he's completely done with the team, why not get something out of him? A team like the Jets, to me, that makes the most sense, because I know Watson's been pretty vocal about how much he loves Robert Saleh, and the Jets have 2 first-round picks this year, so that makes a lot of sense to me. The Colts as well, but they'll never trade him to the Colts because they're in the same division. So we'll see. But that's crazy. I think like I said, though, I think the Texans are going to be having a fire sale, and I think JJ Watt's going to be part of that. And I would love to bring him to LA. I think a team like LA or a team like Green Bay is what JJ Watt wants. I think he wants a contender. He wants to be on a winning team, and he wants a shot at the Super Bowl. So I definitely can see him wanting to come here. Maybe Pittsburgh because of his brothers, but I think us in Green Bay, honestly, are probably the top 2 choices for him.
Yeah, I mean, you could trade a Havenstein and a pick for JJ Watt, and it would cost you about $12 million. If you restructure Stafford, Kupp, Woods, Ramsey, and Donald, you could do that. And they're going to be playing around with the cap. It sounds really unrealistic to, restructure all those guys, but there's a really good chance that they do. This is a win now team. And to me, when you're a win now team, you're willing to go out and get a guy like a Von Miller, or you're willing to go out and get a guy like JJ Watt. So I would not throw it out of the imagination, the question. I mean, I think there's a legitimate case for it. And I mean, look, Watt right now, he's 32. He has a $17.5 million cap hit in 2021. And then I believe he is off the books in 2022. Let me check real quick, but I believe he is. Yes. So he's a free agent in 2022. So he has 1 more year left on his deal. And that's it. You take on the entire deal, and Houston gets a pick for it, or Houston trades you another pick, so you would take on his deal. Maybe they don't want to have him. I don't know. He's 32 years old. He would be playing, contract year football. So, I mean, at that point, that guy wants to win a title, and that really narrows down where you want to go. But I've also heard another guy get mentioned, and I don't even know if it's really possible. But let me get your thoughts on it. What about Jadeveon Clowney? Because I feel like this guy has gone from being like a dominant player and somebody that, like, you know, he looked like one of the best young pass rushers in the league, very dominant. He was the first overall pick, to now it's like he might actually be obtainable because he's really not, he hasn't done a lot the last 2 years. And I think a lot of that came down to the fact he's been hurt. But he's a free agent. You wouldn't have to trade for him. Well, I mean, what do you think he would command on the market after going down with a knee injury?
I'm not that into him. I mean,
because like Spotrac's saying $6.5 million. Like, wouldn't you do a 1 year $6.5 million deal and have him start?
If we had to, I would still prefer bringing back Leonard Floyd for more or trading for a JJ Watt. I just think Clowney is kind of done. You know, I mean, I wouldn't say he's done, but he's not that appealing to me. I think that there's better talent out there. I mean, at that rate, I would rather just draft somebody. I know that we obviously don't have a first round pick, but we do have a second round pick and we have a couple thirds. And I do think, especially in this draft, we're going to find some talent late. So, you know, you mentioned trading possibly Havenstein and a pick to the Texans for JJ Watt. That's fine with me because I actually think this offensive tackle class in this draft class is pretty good. I think that this is one of those drafts where you're going to find starting quality tackles into the third round. So that would be totally fine with me. I know we also have Joseph Noteboom as well, and Whitworth is believed to be coming back, but there's a lot of guys who I would definitely take in late in the second round or in the third round if we got rid of Havenstein. So we'll see. I don't know, but I do think that the Rams are going to be on JJ Watt's list. You know, whether the Rams want to pull the trigger on him, I don't know. I do think it would have to change how the scheme that they play on defense, which might be happening anyway because Staley's gone. I have no idea, but we'll see. I think, you know, there is a lot of time, and the Texans, it is my understanding and my opinion that they are just going to start fire selling everybody. You know, I think they're in total rebuild mode, and I think that's going to start with trading Watson, and I think they're going to trade him the Jets. But who knows? I mean, we'll probably do a whole pod on this, but it is interesting.
I'll throw out one more name. So I think he might be able to revitalize his career. He's a former first-round pick, and he's out of Mizzou. Charles Harris, who actually played with Raheem Morris with the Falcons. He's a free agent. Would you be interested in bringing him? They declined his fifth-year option, so he's now going to be a free agent in 2021.
Sorry, you cut out. Who?
Charles Harris. You know him pretty well because he went to Mizzou.
Yeah. I like Charles Harris. I don't know if he's like up there for me. Like, I don't know. I think, again, I do think there's other guys with a lot more potential who are more talented. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be upset with that move. I don't think that he doesn't seem like someone the Rams will go after, though, to me.
Well, I mean, I think, I would look at two guys here, you know, that are going to be free agents, Charles Harris and Steven Means, that played with Raheem Morris. I'm not saying that's like necessarily where they'll go. That kind of gives you a good idea. And then DeMonte Casey, since they only have two corners on the roster right now, Jalen Ramsey and David Long. And I do expect, and, you know, I think they will bring back Darius Williams, but, you know, if they bring back Darius Williams, they have three. So I think Casey, a guy that can play corner and can play safety, might make some sense. John Johnson and Leonard Floyd, according to Spotrac, are going to be around the $13 million price range. So I think it's pick one or the other, and I don't even think that's guaranteed that you can even do that.
Yeah. Well, as far as the corner position goes, I do think that I agree. I think we're going to be bringing back Darius Williams, but I do want the Rams to draft someone late as well. You know, I always think that defensive backs you should have a lot of. I think it's a position that if someone goes down, it can really, really impact your team. So I would like to see us, you know, either bring in a cheap free agent or draft someone maybe in rounds 4 through 6 that is obviously not going to be a starter, but he's going to be a solid backup and we can develop him. I think you're right. I think we either can bring back Leonard Floyd or John Johnson. And I think that just depends on the market And, we have to keep in mind if John Johnson leaves, we have Jordan Fuller, Terrell Burgess, and Taylor Rapp. Even though, in my opinion, the Rams don't really use him as a true safety, he's technically a safety. So we do have those three guys there. So I don't know if the Rams are more willing to let John Johnson walk because of that. I would still prefer to keep him, as much as I think that Terrell Burgess and Jordan Fuller could be those starting safeties. I would rather almost get rid of Rapp, maybe like a trade for a late round pick or something, and keep John Johnson around and have Johnson, Burgess, and Fuller kind of in that rotating safety position, or I'll play when you do kind of like the three safety, like the five back, if the Rams keep that scheme. I don't know. I really think they're going to change it. I don't know if they'll still do five in the secondary, but I do think there's going to be some switching around, but it is going to depend on who we bring in as well. So I have no idea. Like I said, I would love to bring in a JJ Watt and do the four up front, because I actually think it makes things a lot easier on Aaron Donald. So I'd love to see that, but who knows? I don't know. I have no idea what Raheem Morris is going to do.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. Again, there are a lot of guys here, so if you guys are interested, you can check it out on spotrac.com. There's a bunch of unrestricted free agents. I mean, we could go down the line of even Ryan Kerrigan. Maybe you try to get a year out of him. Carl Lawson, Trey Hendrickson, Vic Beasley, Takaris McKinley, Hassan Reddick, Romeo Okwara, Marcus Golden, Leonard Floyd, Yannick Ngakoue, Jadeveon Clowney, Shaquille Barrett, Bud Dupree, Melvin Ingram, Leonard Williams, and Matt Judon. So it's a pretty healthy list, and pass rushers always get paid a lot. So if those top guys are gone, then the Rams could probably go after a guy like maybe Romeo Okwara, although he might get a lot of money. So I don't know. We'll see. I think Leonard Floyd is going to end up with the Chargers, and I think John Johnson might end up wherever Ejiro Evero goes, and that could be Green Bay. So
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I do think as far as, if Leonard Floyd walks, there's some guys that could be available in the late third. Obviously, I'm a Notre Dame fan. Dalen Hayes is very, very good. And,
what do you think about Okwara?
Well, I like him too. I think he's gonna want a lot of money, though.
Okay, how much do you think he gets, like, per year?
I think, okay, what would you say Spotrac said for Floyd? 13?
Yeah. I mean, I have him right around 8 to 10.
I would say Okwara is probably going to ask for around 10. If you're going by that measurement, I think he's probably going to want slightly less than Floyd, but I think that he could get up there. I think he could certainly, if he's looking at all of his offers, I think there's going to be teams that'll pay him more than the Rams can. So I would be much more interested in drafting someone late, kind of in that third round, like a Dalen Hayes, Patrick Jones out of Pittsburgh, who I think would be there as well, like that, just, for cheaper reasons, and then maybe try and bring back John Johnson. I don't know. John Johnson's kind of been acting like he's leaving, but at the same time, he's almost acting so much like he's leaving that I don't think he's leaving. Like, he's been really playing into the social media game revolving, like, where am I going to go, that type of thing. So we'll see. I think the Rams are going to have to choose between him and Floyd, because I think they are going to be asking for around that same price. So I don't know. We'll see.
We will see. There's also another guy that I like, Tyus Bowser. He's going to be a free agent. I actually really like this group. I don't think they bring back Ibukam. And I mean, they might bring back Fox, but that's not a guarantee. I think Derek Rivers will be cheap, so they could probably bring him back. But yeah, I mean, right now, as it stands, you have Terrell Lewis, who can't stay healthy, and you have Justin Hollins, who I like a lot. But I think you need another guy to be there, because I don't think Terrell Lewis can stay healthy, and Obinaya Okoronkwo has fair share of injury as well. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what they do. There's a lot of names here. There's a lot of names.
Yep, and like I said, I would like for us to keep our remaining picks for this season. I don't want us to give any more picks away unless it's for like a JJ Watt. Just because I do think that this is one of these draft classes at multiple positions where later on you can get some really good talent. So I think that we're in a good position with all the third round picks that we have for sure, and we still have that second round pick as well. So we'll see. we'll see what the Rams decide to do. We're going to be talking about it a lot over the course of this offseason. But until then, guys, as always, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter at the Alexis Kraft. You can follow Jake at JKBogan DTSN. Take care, guys. We'll be back after the Super Bowl. We'll be doing starting our NFL draft prospect interviews, which is really exciting, and we can't wait to do those. But until then, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.